All right. Okay. Start right. Okay. A small number of giant corporations now control a wide swath of media holdings, including television networks, movie studios, record companies, cable channels, and local cable providers, book publishers, magazines, and newspapers. Clear Channel Communications, for example, a Texas based media conglomerate, owns 850 radio stations, by far the largest by far by far the largest number controlled by a single company. These developments have prompted the questions about whether enough competition exists among the media to produce a diverse set of views on political and corporate matters, or whether the United States has become the prisoner of media monopolies. As major newspapers, television stations, and radio network falls into fewer and fewer hands, the risk increased that politicians and citizens who express less popular or minority viewpoints will have difficulty finding a public forum. Examples include 2012 Republican presidential candidate Ron Paul, who, despite favorable showing in early nominating events such as the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary, received little national media coverage because his libertarian ideas were outside the mainstream of his political party. This may also be a reason for the relatively scant mainstream media coverage of the Occupy Wall Street movement, which sought to bring attention to the issues of growing income inequality. The mainstream media are often committed to the status quo, which is why they were less enthusiastic about the Occupy protests, or at the other at the other end of the political spectrum, about the Tea Party. Increasingly, these groups turn to the internet to express their views. The internet is an important mechanism for linking communities of adherents, but adherents. But can it mitigate the traditional media homogeneous homogeneous viewpoints of views in terms of what is news coverage or their treatment of opinions that challenge the status quo? Can the diversity of media sources available online, including blogs and social media, help balance the corporate concentration of media ownership? The rise of new media has strongly influenced how Americans get their news. Explain how the internet has transformed the news media. The 21st century has already experienced a profound transformation of the media. The impact of the internet in mass communication parallels that of the printing press in 19th century America, which saw the rise of the penny press and widespread literacy. Today, even as the newspaper business struggled for its life, readership of online news has soared. The internet has become the medium of choice for all age groups below 50 years old and to consume entertainment, news, and information about politics. In 2000, just 35% of adult internet users say they look for news or information about politics or the upcoming campaigns online. As of 2012, that number had risen to over 60%. Among young adults, the number is even higher. 70% of 18 to 29-year-olds say that the internet is their mainstream source of news. Besides online only newspapers, new forum for news includes websites, blogs, social media, YouTube, and Twitter. The internet has particularly convenient for is particularly convenient for obtaining news, and format for doing so are becoming more diverse and interactive. A Pew 2012 election survey found 48% of internet using registered voters watch news reports online about the presidential election, and 40% watch previously recorded videos of a candidate's speech, press conference, or debate. Watching online videos to understand Watching online videos to understand a political issue is equally common. News about politics is often humorous, and 37% watch a video parodying a political issue, whatever that is. A political issue. Watching online campaign ads is common, with this activity reported by 1 in 3 internet users. Live video streaming is a growing substitute for television for some, as 28% of this population watch a live online video of a candidate's speech or debate. Presidential addresses are now regularly streamed online, and millions tune in to hear the president in this format. News watchers have quickly grown accustomed to following world events unfolding in real time. Online media are more diverse and have created a more democratic and participatory press, one in which citizens and nonprofit organizations now play a prominent role, no longer limited to the letters to the editor section in most print publications. Readers can now post comments online and participate in a community, providing feedback on almost all online news articles. Online media, by representing a wider range of political views, than traditional media, have created a more democratic press. The term digital citizen refers to the ability to participate in society and politics online in much the same way that education and literacy prompted democracy and economic growth in the 19th century. Today's internet has the potential to benefit society as a whole and facilitate political participation by individuals within society. Like education, the internet helps provide the information and skills needed for democratic engagement and economic opportunity. It facilitates social inclusions through greater access to political information. However, regularly and effective use of the internet requires high-speed access, technical skills, and literacy to evaluate and use information online. Individuals without access or skill to use the internet may be increasingly uninformed and excluded from the world of politics online. As of 2013, 7 in 10 Americans were digital citizens, and individuals with high-speed access at home beyond mobile access, and more than 8 in 10 Americans use the internet in some locations. As of 2013, 74% of whites, 62% of blacks, and only 56% of Latinos are digital citizens by this definition: home, high-speed access. Although only half of the working poor, those earning less than $30,000 a year, had home broadband, 9 out of 10 of those earning more than $75,000 a year did. 58% of high school graduates have home broadband compared to 90% of college graduates. This suggests that there are significant inequalities in access to digital media, what is called the digital divide. Online news take many forms. While many traditional news sources, such as newspapers, now publish online, other web news outlets tend to be smaller and more specialized and have lower personnel and overhead costs than mainstream publishers. The types of online news sources include niche journalism, journalism and blog, nonprofit journalism, and social media. Niche journalism. And the gap open and the gap opened by the decline in traditional print media, the last decade has seen the rise of the niche journalism, news reporting devoted to a targeted portion of a journalism market sector or for a portion of readers or viewers based on contents or ideology presentation, and specialty publications ranging from slate.com to political.com. Bloomberg News, one of the most successful specialty online sources, has hundreds of thousands of readers paying a large annual fee for detailed business related news. In politics, roll call, The Hill, the National Journal, Congressional Quarterly, Salon.com, the Huffington Post, and Political, the niche leader, have detailed political reporting inside the Beltway, that is, in Washington. This journalism feeds citizens' interest in politics across the full range of political spectrum. These niche outlets are supplemented by a rich array of international and foreign online news sources. Citizen journalism and blogs. The old media system has dominated by professional journalists trained in journalism school who served as gatekeepers in determining what was front page news and how political events were to be interpreted. This system had benefits and costs. The quality was high, but the diversity of opinions was relatively low. The media's gatekeeper role continues, but the diversity of online media is changing traditional journalism and the very nature of news coverage. Even 5 years ago, most establishment journalists took their cues exclusively from a small handful of outlets, but now many of them use a much more extensive and diversified roster of sources, including blogs, Twitter, and independent political commentators. Online news is creating a new generation of whistleblowers, enhancing the media's traditional role as a watchdog for the people against government corruption, and it is creating new venues for political activism. A distinguishing feature of the digital media is citizens journalism, which is interactive and participatory. Citizen journalism refers simply to news reported and distributed by citizens rather than professional journalists and for profit news organizations. It also includes political commentary by ordinary citizens and even crisis coverage from eyewitnesses on the scene. Because it involves a wider range of voices in gathering news and interpreting political events, contemporary news reporting and commentary are more democratic. Magnifying the power of the internet is the nearly universal availability of digital cameras and camera equipped cell phones, which give millions of Americans the capacity to photograph or film events and then disseminate them online. When a citizen using a mobile cell phone capture videos of police pepper spraying peacefully Occupy Wall Street demonstrators at the University of California, Davis in 2011, the video was viewed by millions and became headline news. Citizen journalism is enhanced by the ease with which anyone can start a blog. There are millions of blogs covering virtually every topic imaginable, and a large share of these include political news and commentary on local, national, and world events. Many blogs are citizen run and are more interactive and representative of the diversity of American views than traditional news, which generally reflects the priorities of political elites. Twitter is also an important tool for citizen journalism. While only 5 to 10% of Americans use Twitter for politics, these users tend to be public opinion leaders, and Twitter is used The preferred social media platform for political elites and candidates. A study of millions of Twitter messages about Obama during the 2012 presidential election found that the Washington Post was the only traditional media corporation cited in the top 10 most frequently cited websites, and other nine most cited sites were blogs, YouTube videos, and other alternative online sources. Thus, social media and citizen journalism are not replicating traditional media, but are giving political activists new voice in shaping the news. To be sure, the open, freewheeling nature of blogging often means that there is little of the traditional quality control employed by traditional media, because they do not face the burden of fact checking required for the mainstream media. Even well meaning bloggers can post false information. This could be one reason misinformation about political issues is higher among blog readers than those reading online news from the mainstream press. Nonprofit journalism. As traditional news organizations have cut budgets and reduced investigative journalism, political information is increasingly emanating from universities, think tanks, nonprofit organizations, and private foundations. Think tanks such as the Brookings Institution and Cato Institution and Hoover Institution, the Heritage Foundation, and the Center for American Progress provide information and analysis on current events in order to influence public debate. Universities have expanded their public outreach, encouraging faculties to explain their findings for a general audience. As a result, university faculties are increasingly cited in the mainstream media, and many are bloggers themselves. Social medias Social media, such as Twitter and Facebook, are important players in news and political communication. Some 73% of online adults use a social networking site of some kind as of 2013. The percentage increases to 90% among 18 to 29-year-olds. Facebook is the dominant social networking platform and sheer number of users, but 42% of online adults use multiple social networking sites. Because social media such as Facebook and Twitter are more personalized and interactive than anonymous news organizations, social media are becoming increasingly popular means for Americans to receive political information from the candidates and interest groups they support. In turn, candidates for political office, elected officials, political organizations, and interest groups have been quick to adopt Facebook and Twitter as a means of communication with their supporters and providing them with the continual feed of news information. In 2007, one of the founders of Facebook helped the Obama presidential campaign establish a Facebook page. The site fundraising section allowed visitors to set personal fundraising goals and to invite other registered friends to help them reach those goals. The Obama site attracted more than 1 million visitors during the campaign for the 2008 Democratic presidential nomination, and as of 2014, Obama's Facebook page had over 40 million followers. Both Facebook and Twitter poses important features for political mobilization and information sharing. With these virtual social networks, groups of like-minded individuals or individuals with shared interests can quickly and easily share information. New media have many benefits. Americans may prefer online news for several reasons. Here we look at 4 advantages of online news. Convenience. Information online is convenient and always available for those who have regular access to the internet at home or increasingly through mobile devices such as smartphones. Pew survey shows that nearly half of those who use online news and political information sites its convenience. Use of online political information is associated with more interest in politics, greater knowledge of politics, and a greater likelihood of discussing politics with friends and family. Currency. Major news stories regularly break first and immediately online and are later reported through print newspaper and television. Social media and have accelerated even further the speed with which news travel around the globe. For example, news of death, Osama bin Laden's Osama bin Laden's death in 2011 spread rapidly through text messaging, smartphones, and social media outlets such as Facebook and Twitter, even before it could be verified by traditional media. Depth. Online news provide more information than the 60-second sound bites found in television and radio news. By blending detailed treatments of topics with the visuals and emotional appeal of streaming videos, the internet shares qualities both of print media, promoting knowledge, and of the visual aspect of television, promoting interest and engagement. Diversity. Online sources are much more diverse than those found in the traditional media, and this diversity may increase citizens' political knowledge and interests. While major players online certainly do include mainstream outlets, the internet remains populated by a wide range of information sources. By making foreign media, such as the British broadcasting companies BBC easily available, the internet has reduced the importance of physical proximity and created a truly global shared culture. Millions went online to watch live broadcasts of Egyptian citizens protesting for democratic freedom in 2011. So, the media have many benefits, and there are four of them: convenience, currency, depth, and diversity. But news, but new media raise concern about investigative power, news quality, and political tolerance. Despite the benefits of new media, changes to the media arising from the rapid proliferation of the internet have raised a multitude of concern. One such concern is the loss of investigative power. In a democracy, the press is expected to be a watchdog for the people and to inform the citizens of government abuses of power. The greatest challenge for contemporary news organization is to generate enough revenue to finance traditional investigative journalism. This activity requires more time and resources than other aspects of the news, and yet it may be the most important. By breaking apart mainstream news organizations, online news may actually reduce the media's ability to engage in the kind of sustained, in-depth, and expensive reporting that is crucial to the media's watchdog role and thus to the health of the American democracy. Another concern Another concern is the variation in the quality of the news. As already noted, the growing diversity of online news has led to wide variation in the quality of available information. The freewheeling nature of the internet also means that hate speech, rumors, falsehood, and outdated information can overwhelm thoughtful, original, factual, and civic oriented voices. Misinformation and unsubstantiated rumors can substitute for objective truth as claims are widely repeated, especially in anonymous and unedited online forums. Perhaps the greatest concerns about politics in the digital age goes to the heart of modern democracy. Do online media ultimately help or hinder progress towards a well-informed citizenry that can govern itself effectively? One study has found that while readers of online news from major websites, largely offshoots of traditional print and broadcast media, are more knowledgeable than average citizens, those who get their political news mainly from blogs are actually worse off. And the very diversity of online news, in fact, may actually lower tolerance for social and political diversity. Most new media do not abide by traditional media principles of objective journalism. The, the media affect power relations in American politics. Analyze how the media, politicians, and public opinions are influenced by one another. The content and character of news and public affairs programming, what the media choose to present and how they present it, can have far reaching political consequences. The media can shape and modify, if not fully form, the public's perception of events, issues, and institutions. Media coverage can rally support for or intensify oppositions to national policies on matters as weighty as healthcare and economy and international wars. The media influence public opinion through agenda setting, framing, and priming. Traditional and digital media influence American politics in a number of important ways. The power of all media collectively, both traditional and online, lies in their ability to shape what issues America thinks about, setting the agenda, and what opinion Americans hold about those issues, framing and priming. Agenda setting and selection bias. The first source of media power is agenda setting. That is, the power of the media to bring public attention to particular issues and problems. Groups and forces that wish to bring their ideas before the public in order to generate support for policy proposals or political candidacy must secure media coverage. If the media are persuaded that an idea is net newsworthy, they may declare it an issue that must be confronted or a problem to be solved, thus clearing the first hurdle in the policy making process. If, on the other hand, an idea lacks or loses media appeal, its chances of resulting in a news program or policies is diminished. For example, in 2008 and 2009, the news agenda was dominated by the global financial crisis and the severe economic recession that ensued. Continuing media attention created enormous pressure for the government to do something, even as the crisis began to ease. In the new Obama administration, honeymoon period was cut short by public frustration over the government's inability to solve the economic problems quickly. In 2010, the media's focus on a massive oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico contributed to widespread anger at the Obama administration's seeming inability to contain the disaster. Because the media are businesses, because the media are businesses, and because the media seeks to attract the largest possible audience, they naturally tend to cover stories with dramatic or entertainment values, giving less attention to important stories that are less compelling. News coverage thus often focuses on crime and scandals, especially those involving prominent individuals. This selection bias, the tendency to focus news coverage on only one aspect of an event or issue, avoiding coverage of other aspects, mean that the media may provide less information about important political issues. The age-old journalistic instinct for sensational stories to tell often trumps the media responsibility to inform the public about what really matters, and the public's responsibility to demand that from the media. What the mainstream media decides to report on and what they ignore have important implications. For example, the mainstream media provided little coverage of the Bush tax cut of 2001 and 2003, or the extension under President Obama in 2009. although they dramatically increased the federal budget deficit and widening the gap between the super rich and most other Americans in terms of wealth. It is not surprising that public opinion polls showed 40% of Americans had no opinions on whether they favored the massive tax cuts in 2001. The selection bias of traditional media run by professional journalists, however, may be balanced to some degree by the diversity of media sources available online. Framing is the media's ability to influence how the American people interpret events and policies. Politicians take care to choose language that present their ideas in the most favorable light possible. Public opinion on politics naturally naturally changes with facts, but few citizens read legislation. So, when forming opinions about policies and politics, the public relies on media coverage. This means that arguments made by elected officials and other political actors are frames or critical to the process of forming opinions. For example, the Obama administration labeled its health care initiative and Protection and Affordability Care Act, thus framing the proposal as a matter of compassionate responsibility and good economic sense. As the bill was debated in Congress, early press coverage framed it as health care reform. Sensing that the Americans generally approve of the idea of reform, Republican opponents of the legislation choose language that framed it quite differently. The law's provisions for limiting excessive medical testing were labeled as healthcare rationing. For example, the committees that were proposed to advise patients about end of life care were called death panels. The language used by Democrats and Republicans framed the debate in different terms. The Democrats framed it as achieving the positive goals of reform, while the Republicans framed it as achieving the negative outcome of rationing. Another source of media influence on opinion related to framing is priming. Priming involves calling attention to some matters while ignoring others. As a result, the public will be primed to use certain criteria when evaluating a politician or an issue and to ignore other criteria. For example, the media's extensive focus on terrorism and security in the wake of the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks primed the public to evaluate President Bush's performance in office based on his ability to defend the nation from terrorism. The public was less likely to assess President Bush based on his ability to manage